Hey there, this is Raquel Dancho, Member of Parliament for Kildonan St. Paul and Shadow Minister for Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship, coming to you today from Winnipeg for my weekly roundup. So I have 4 different topics I want to talk to you about today, and the first one is a local issue. You've heard me talk about this before. It's the large-scale medical marijuana grow-ups that are currently sort of wreaking havoc on the Garden City area, as well as Amber Trails, which is in the Winnipeg North, Kevin Lamoureux's area, and also on the south end of the city in City Council Janice Luke's area. So there's at least 3 neighborhoods in Winnipeg that are being severely impacted by these. Now, you've heard me talk about this before, but essentially what the problem is Health Canada places no limit on what an individual can be prescribed to grow for medical cannabis, which has resulted in, it appears to be, some doctors across the country sort of abusing this loophole and prescribing hundreds of plants for one person's health use. And what's even worse, you can get 4 licenses of these prescriptions to grow in one household. So what we're seeing in the Garden City area is dozens and dozens of homes being bought up for what seems like the sole purpose of growing medical cannabis with hundreds of plants, and it's leading to obviously a breakdown of those households which are being treated. They're just regular bungalows and they're being treated like greenhouses, so you can imagine the home damage and the property value is going down, which is a concern to all the other neighbors. So that's one concern. The safety concern, you've heard me say this before, but over the summer months there was a home that was broken into, but it was mistaken by the criminals for the grow up next door. So incredibly disappointing situation there, incredibly frightful for those who are living, the innocent people living in that home. So the safety is a concern. I've heard from residents that are afraid to go to sleep at night. And beyond that, the odor is unbelievable, particularly during certain growing periods of the cannabis plants. Neighbors have said they can't even open their windows, they can't go into their backyards. So this is obviously a huge concern for quality of life for residents. If you have young children or perhaps you're elderly and need some fresh air, that's sort of been taken away from a lot of these residents. So needless to say, it's been an issue that's been growing for the last couple of years, and the federal government has done nothing about it. And really from what we can garner, all that really needs to be done is a limit on how much that can be prescribed, and that would provide really a national solution to this. There are options before the City Council. They're reviewing a bylaw next week to sort of limit the ability to have medical marijuana grow-ups within the city limits. That is, a good option to consider. I'm happy to see the City of Winnipeg taking this seriously. The only concern that I have is that would help the City of Winnipeg, but it wouldn't help anywhere else. And we see this in Southern Ontario, we see this in Alberta and Quebec, and there's been literally mega million grow-up busts under this medical marijuana guise across Canada. So it's a growing issue. There's even in Southern Ontario, there's folks that are buying up condo buildings and putting 4 licenses with unlimited prescriptions essentially in each unit to make medical cannabis grow-ups for personal use. So there's real concerns this is connected to criminal activity. Anyway, so that is the issue that you've heard me talk about, and I just want to give you an update that myself and 30 other Conservative MPs have signed a letter to the Minister of Health, Patty Hajdu, to reiterate this issue. She knows about it, but to bring it to her attention again and ask for her to take this seriously and find a solution. So we are moving forward with this. This is a really great effort, as part of the Conservative team, and that went out this week. So really hoping to see a response from the Minister of Health federally from the Liberal government of what she plans to do about this problem that is severely impacting the quality of life for residents in my community, in the Garden City community, in my riding. So I just wanted to give you that update that we are on it, and we're going to keep pushing until a solution is found. I just want to conclude by talking about Manitoba being in code red and the deaths in personal care homes that we're seeing in Winnipeg. To date, we know that 22 residents died of COVID-19 of the outbreak at Maples Long-Term Care Home. This just blew up over the last week. When paramedics arrived, they found multiple people dead in their beds that had been dead for hours, people suffering severe dehydration. We know that 23 out of 38 personal care homes in Winnipeg have had outbreaks. Another one, Parkview Place, owned by the same company as the Maples, had 23 deaths. And there was 8 deaths in 48 hours in Maples long-term care homes. So absolutely devastating. My heart goes out to all the families impacted and everyone else who has elderly residents there. This is a horrible time. We saw Ontario and Quebec go through this early on in the pandemic, and now it's here. And I just wanted to address that this is completely unacceptable. And we're seeing, of course, the province trying to take measures to stop the spread. Code red. I know it's very tough. A lot of you have emailed me and talked to me and saying you wanted further restrictions. And then it's interesting, half of you saying no more restrictions, like let's open up, our jobs are at risk. So it's really a mixed bag from everyone. So I recognize how difficult a decision this is for provincial lawmakers. And it's impossible to make everybody happy. But we are in code red, and they have strongly advised us to limit our person-to-person contact for folks outside of our household. And I believe the threshold is you can have your own household plus 5 people, but they're really recommending we sort of go back to that early lockdown where you only go out for food or essential needs that you have. You only interact with people in your home, and try to work from home for all if you're able to. So I know this is really, really tough, and I know like if you think of your hairdresser, your dentist, all of the places we go on a regular basis to function are all closing down again. And we're going to see a lot of closures. But I just wanted to say that, you know, Conservatives are working very hard at the federal level to hold the Liberal government to account for the mistakes that they've made in the last year since we've known about this pandemic. It was coming. It was officially announced in January. We found out in early December. We know that, you know, things like the borders, they refused to close the borders early on. That led thousands of people infected coming into the country. They told us not to wear masks. Now, of course, everywhere is mandating masks. And frankly, the federal government has really pushed all of the responsibility and the tough decisions onto provinces, which I don't really believe is very fair. Maybe we need a more national approach, some leadership in that regard. They're happy to cut checks, but to make the tough calls, oh, that's on the provinces. Oh, that's on the municipalities. So we're pretty disappointed in that regard. We want to see leadership other than just spending hundreds of billions of dollars from the Liberal government. We want to see them lead the country. We're in the grips of the second wave. We need leadership at the federal level. We're not seeing that. And I did want to tell you as well regarding the personal care homes that Aaron O'Toole, our new Conservative leader, has pledged to create a royal commission to probe Canada's response to the pandemic. And a few of the key issues he wants the commission to review will be to examine the state of long-term care and propose solutions as to what the federal government can do to improve them. So clearly we need some sort of national standard or something better to give dignity to people in their final years. I think we can all agree on that. So we will be working hard to ensure that this Royal Commission happens and that we make real change for those that are severely impacted. Of course, the most deaths from COVID in Canada have been from the elderly in personal care homes. So something needs to change. And so we're going to work hard to figure out a good solution for that. So come to me next week. I have more exciting updates next week for you. We're going to be back in committee. The House is back in session. And then the week following, I'm going to be in Ottawa. So I'll be up on the floor of the House of Commons a lot that week fighting for you. So if you want to see me talk about certain things, hold the government to account, please email me, write it in the comment section, whatever you can do to let me know what you want to see me fighting for on your behalf when I'm in Ottawa in 2 weeks. So thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next week.